Glory of God, the Republic of Ghana was able to conclude the staff level agreement before 31st December last year. So that timeline was not missed. The second timeline that was given was that having concluded the staff level agreement, we need to complete the prior actions so that our agreement can be taken to the IMF board for board approval by the end of March. Now, those prior actions are not actions that the government or the executive branch suo motu can execute. The government on its own cannot finish all of those prior actions. You need other people to come together to work with you to meet those prior actions. One of those prior actions, for example, was about the passage of some 3 revenue bills in Parliament. And you know that no matter how the executive branch pushes through, you will still need the collaboration of Parliament to be able to pass those. You need, for example, to put in place a debt restructuring program, domestic and external. The domestic may be within your contemplation, but you recall that you cannot force anybody. It's a voluntary exercise that people have to participate in. And if you are not getting the participation and you're having to roll down the dates some more, give extensions, it affects the timeline that you have given. You have external creditors that you have to talk to, those in the Paris Club and those outside the Paris Club, China, India, Saudi Arabia, etc. All of that is not exactly within your domain. But be that as it may, we give ourselves a timeline of by the end of March. Mm-hmm. We should have been able to finish with these prior actions so that we'll be ready to get board approval. That's about 2 weeks since March ended. So it is that timeline that has not materialized at this point in time. Thankfully, all of that work has now been completed. And if you heard the IMF managing director herself, she is clear in her mind that Ghana has fulfilled what we need to fulfill and that they can now go to the board and get us board approval.
So now the pension fund holders, especially organized labor, are up in arms, raising concerns about the alternative that was provided them. That is almost like if they don't take, and you remember that was done back in December. So we have this statement to the Board of Trustees from the Ministry of Finance to pension funds. It says, request for participation in the new GOG proposed alternative offer for pension funds. And it says reference is made to an MOU signed between Organized Labor Association and government back in December. And so it excludes pension funds from the domestic debt exchange, and which the parties committed to work together towards a concerted solution. However, subsequently when you read, they said there's been a proposal that is compensating pension funds for the value of their current holdings. So there was an alternative that was given for which they were supposed to make exchanges for a new one, for which they said they would not. Now, while they were in Washington, they decided to issue the statement, and it's signed by the Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, for which we've had organized labor and the biggest union being the Ghana National Association of Teachers among the various organized labor or unions raising concerns. Now, for this alternative, according to the Finance Minister, it has been designed to achieve the same average maturity as pension funds' current holding of old bonds. Now, the question is, why is organized labor refusing to accept this new structure of the DDP? And will this affect ultimately what we have as far as our discussions are? Well, Sylvester Tete, as far as this is concerned, what do you make of it? Now, let's hear from you.
Well, good morning to you and then to our viewers. It's a rainy morning, and good morning to Honorable Sam George of Ningo Pram. Good morning to my constituents, and special morning to our Muslim brothers. I think they are in the last 5 days of their fast. We wish them well and continuously pray with them. Roland, I think that there's a bit of confusion in the minds of the people. But if you look at the letter from the Finance Ministry, obviously there has been a memorandum of understanding between organized labor and pension funds, and then the Ministry of Finance, for that matter, the government of the Republic of Ghana. A memorandum of understanding is a set of rules and guidelines put in place for a roadmap to work towards something. And the content of it, in basic terms, is to say that the pension funds and then pensioners have been excluded from the domestic debt exchange program that government had put out for restructuring the repayment of maturing bonds and coupons. Now government is saying that is inviting, on the basis of the memorandum of understanding, these organized labor and pension fund holders, that indeed we recognize the memorandum of understanding that exists between the government of Ghana and your good selves based on argument you made for exclusion. However, we are inviting you to the table to discuss an alternative arrangement, bearing in mind the current financial constraints this government or the country is in. It will not affect maturing date of coupons, but it has a better and an alternative arrangement for you. In that case, both government and bondholders and pensioners will equally benefit from the new arrangement, or alternative arrangement as it were. The details of it has not, as a matter of fact, been put out there yet. So my take is that, well, you have a memorandum of understanding. Instead of us jumping the gun and creating the fear and panic and all that, why don't we go to the table and listen in details? I mean, nobody is putting a gun to your head as to what to do. It's been established, and so has it been, that the domestic debt exchange program is voluntary. That is why government did not forcefully force the bondholders and pensioners to compulsorily sign on to it. So what it means is that they still have an opportunity to state their case and state their claims. For all you know, this sounds a bit harsh in the face of it, that to them, we have been excluded from it. Our coupons are maturing. We're expecting government to pay. Why are you inviting us to the table again? But I will suggest and I will advise that it takes away nothing from them than to go. But it's also not stop them from raising the red flags if they suspect. But all these things are in the realms of speculation until they go to the table and sit down, hear what alternative plans government has for them, and then they can make an informed or a conclusive position on the matter. As it stands now, I've just watched, is it the Secretary General of TUC, saying that individual organizations negotiated, but it's not an organized labor. So to begin with, they are even questioning the status of organized labor as prescribed in the letter of the Finance Minister. But I will say that it is until you go to the table and hear and have the alternative arrangement government has put in place, whether it will inure to your advantage or otherwise, then we can take up the matter from there. But until then, if we sit back, we haven't gone to the table and begin to speculate, that would be unfortunate. However, they still stand excluded from the domestic debt exchange program that was launched in 5th December 2022. So I think that they have a right to accept or reject whatever offers or alternative arrangement government is putting before them. So this should not be a subject for public debate as a matter of fact. Let's put the fact out there, and government has said clearly it will not affect the maturing date of their coupons. And for that matter, I think that until they go to the table and know what has really been put together as an alternative arrangement. If it suits them, fine. If it doesn't, then they can make a case and then speak to the good people of this country. So I think that this is an invitation. It is not a statement to say that you have been compulsorily added to the domestic debt exchange program, as it were. So I think that we should exercise patience. What government has, it should be put out there. But I think that it will be unfair on the part of bondholders and pensioners to be discussing the details of it, because it is their bonds. So government, they have a right to sit with government and government equally has a right to appeal to them and then sit around the table and discuss it. So the details of it after the discussions may come out for all of us to discuss. So for me, I think that once is not a compulsory something. I mean, going to the table doesn't mean that you are conceding to what terms and programs government deems as an alternative and better arrangement for you. Until you get there, let's go and sit down. For all you know, they will leave the room happy than ever before, and they will announce even to the world that indeed what government is proposing as an alternative debt structuring program for us, we are wholeheartedly accepting it. And that will augur well for all of us. But government has underlined in the statement the difficulty we all face, and we are hoping that we all work our way out of these problems we find ourselves. And that's it's something that I don't think anybody, wherever you find yourself on the eye, will wish that this country do not come out from the financial predicament we find ourselves. And I think that we must all work towards that, irrespective of our position on the subject matter.
As the finance minister is in Washington, you know that they came up with some new proposal for the pension fund holders or the bond holders. Now, in point 3, this statement was issued just before the weekend came to a close, 7th of April, from Washington. It says, the proposal has been carefully crafted to facilitate the execution of the MOU addressing government's financial needs while maintaining the value of the pension fund. The proposed offer entails exchanging your current holdings of treasury bonds, ESLA bonds and Dache bonds for a menu of the currently outstanding new bonds issued on February 2023, and they are maturing in 2028, and of course, featuring an average coupon of 8.4%. Now, it also entails an increase in matrimonial value. That's the selling proposition. And it looks like organized labor is reluctant to sign on ultimately to this new offer. But, you know, we're at Washington assuring our partners that apparently we had everybody on board in that 83 or 85% DDP approval that we had as far as the stakeholders are concerned. Of course, even within the last week, we also had apparently pensioners who had their coupon rates or coupons not paid, which were due. And so they also had to go and pick it.
Roland, and let me just say good morning to the serial callers in Cater. They sent me a message that after meeting me in Aplau, they're watching us this morning.
Oh, nice. Nice.
It's sad. It's sad and heartbreaking that we have a government that's mortgaged everybody's future. In fact, yesterday in church, after second service, a very good friend of mine, a senior colleague, is a lawyer. He walked up to me and he said to me, Sam, I've worked for 26 years.
A lawyer?
All of my life savings. In January this year, I decided to go and buy government bonds. Just this January. It's gone. Everything is gone. He said, first they hit me at UT Bank. All my money was in UT Bank. I got only 1/3 of the money I had. Whatever I have had left that I've put together, I said, let me go and buy a government bond. I won't put in any bank. Now, Sam, look at what they've done to me. Where do I go? I could only tell him the Lord is your strength.
As an elder.
In church. But really, is the Lord responsible for his predicament? Or the mismanagement and clueless behavior of Kenuforiata and Baumia, managers of our economy? are we where we are? We're pensioners. I'm talking about my parents celebrating 46 years of marriage. That should tell you their age. My parents are pensioners. You want to touch the money of pensioners? Almost every pensioner has a health condition. And they use their pension monies, the meager pension monies, which they have saved all their lives, to take care of their health conditions and just to be around for their grandchildren and great-grandchildren. And you have sat back, worn white every day, and quoted the Bible in vain. And you've been reckless with the management of the economy. Brought this economy, which was healthy and on a good trajectory, growing at 7.4% when it was handed over to you. With all of your,
Facts right.
Oh, in 2017, what was the growth rate? 7.4%.
You left 3.4%
But listen, the World Bank that you are going to right now, the World Bank had stated everything.
Growth.
From
what did you do? What did Bawumia do? What did Bawumia? Right, when you were talking,
you were not here.
I was right here in the room. What did Bawumia do, or what did Kenoforiata do in 2017 that led to 7.4%? Nothing. The 7.4 was as a result of the 2015 IMF program that we had undertaken. It was as a result of the new oil fields. The new oil fields. Don't forget, we had one oil field. We handed 3 over to them. Proceeds from the oil field was what gave us 7.4%. The IMF had projected what our growth rate was going to be. The World Bank had done it. So you didn't come and do zilch. After 2019, after you went and ate kinky and wachi to celebrate leaving the IMF program, and you were now given the mandate to run this economy, we have seen you. We have seen you for what you are. Like Samira went and rudely spoke about in Tema. We see you. We know you. That you are clueless and incompetent. That you are reckless in the management of the economy. The reckless Bawumia and incompetent Kenoforiata are the ones who have brought this economy to his knees. And today, when you are done, after you have engaged in all kinds of fraudulent, shady deals with the likes of Franklin Templeton and all the kinds of mess you have created, Dachi and all of those things, those special purpose vehicles you've done to fleece the public purse, you come and sit here and tell pensioners who have toiled and given of their lives that they should come to the table and come and give you their pensions. Why are the young people of Ghana not going to Japa? Right now, the current trend in Ghana is every young professional is Japaing, running away from the country. Because it makes no sense to work in this country.
What is Japa?
It's a Nigerian term which has been taken for
migrating.
For migrating.
For going to America or somewhere.
Yes, they go to Obodo Ibo. They are living.
Japaing.
They are Japaing. Because everybody is Japaing because you stay in this country and work. The country doesn't take care of you. And you'll be saddled with some 70, almost 80-year-old man who told you that he's too old to come and steal your money, not knowing that he's spent all his time in life learning how to come and steal, and has come and stolen the public purse. Younger presidents, they said they were stealing from the public purse. The old man who claimed that he didn't want any, he was too old to steal, and that anybody coming into his government who wanted to make money should not come in, has actually come and stolen the purse. And you have the recklessness of that government living like Arabian Nights. And now you are telling us, telling our parents, our grandparents, that their pensions, you have recklessly stolen the purse. What people have also saved in their houses, you are now becoming a state armed robber to go and take from them. And you are telling them that there will be no loss to their money. It's the same way, you see, every time Kenoforiata speaks and says something, prepare for the worst. The opposite. Because he came to stand there and said, there will be no loss of value to your money. Look, anybody who has government bonds or government pensions or any government instruments, pension funds, every month, well, with the exception of last month, but previously, every month, 50% of the value of your money is gone. Now 40%. So if even we maintain this till next year, if you had 1 million Ghana cedis, the real value of it
is gone. And you're
because 400,000 is going by inflation.
And you're going to be retrieving it from 26.
27, 2027, 2020, when they will not be in power. 37. When they will not be in power. You see, the recklessness and callousness of this group, of this bunch of kleptocrats that we have running this country.
But you see, the words being used. No, please. You see, when you ask me to wait, so we should have a very civil conversation. This conversation.
There can be no civility when you are stealing from me. You are stealing from my parents. You are stealing from our grandparents. And you say I should be civil.
We can't come to a program and all get is insult. No, I won't write anything down. You don't come to a program.
It is because you don't write. That is why you've come.
I will not write.
We cannot be decorous with thieves.
That's what we are brothers, so I don't know why you're there.
Look, you see,
Sly, this is not your fight to fight.
It is no place.
It is not your fight to fight.
A lot of people are not, including our kids.
Yes, we need to let our. No, I'm not insulting. When somebody has stolen the public purse, we must tell them.
Come and sit here, and all we give to Ghanaians is a dose of insult. What are you talking about?
When you finish, I'll tell you.
What are you talking about? That we come and sit on national television and all we heap on the good people of this country is full of insults. Why are you not discussing issues? The content of the subject matter, you are not discussing it. And you come here and come and insult people. What kind of attitude is this? Okay. Please, you are the moderator. Don't tell me to write down the insult so that I respond with an insult. I didn't come here to insult.
What are the insults he mentioned?
Please.
Thank you.
You are calling people thieves. How did you determine that? What does that mean?
Kleptocracy.
What does that mean?
What does it mean?
Please, we don't come here. There's a subject matter. Indeed, it is not true that the value of the bondholders and
so are you serious?
I am very serious. Please.
If you had your money
please, read the content of the letter that you have shared.
All right. I've read
it. This is not putting a gun on anybody's head. It is only inviting you for a discussion. It is inviting you for a discussion. So why do you jump the gun and begin to insult?
I understand your concerns about the words that you claim that the gentleman...
The words I claim, but you are comfortable with the words, the choice of words.
What has he said?
He hasn't said anything. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead. He says go ahead.
You see, I can run a crash program in comprehension.
No, relax, please.
You understand? No, I'm very relaxed. When anybody
says we are brothers, people don't know.
Oh, my cousin, we are brothers. That one there. And that's what I'm saying, it's not his fight. Because he's not part of the solid team. Jan Bafo, Agoto say, Osafo Mafo, what a solid team. Did they mention your name? When they were chopping the money, they call you. Keep quiet and let me talk.
About.
You see?
It is not
slide.
Pardon on the payo. Stop this.
Pardon on the payo.
Wake up in the middle of the night.
But when a conversation happens,
the conversation, the digression is becoming too much. You are not going to the content of the subject matter. People are listening to us.
The subject matter is about people's investment.
You see, slide. I take strong exception when you say I'm insulting people. That's why I said I will run a crash program.
The program for 10 minutes now. We've been doing
I'll
this.
run a crash program in comprehension.
Please.
You see, you can sit here and play to the gallery and say somebody's insulted. Nobody's insulted anybody. We have only called people out for the recklessness. When someone is reckless, when you have an economy that is functional, that is working, where people were getting paid their government bonds, and your recklessness and poor economic policy, and your selfishness and personal parochial interest, the profits that your own private business will make, led you to lead us into a ditch. Is that not kleptocracy? Is that not state capture? If you do something and we tell you you've done it, you say that we are insulting you. No, sir. No, madam. We are calling you out for who you are. We are exposing who you are to the people. It is not an insult. And don't tell me that we are heaping anything on the Ghanaian people. I am heaping it on Kenoforiata and Baumia. They earn a salary to manage our economy. They have messed up our economy. So
Slide says don't use words like kleptomaniac. So what did you say?
I said we are running a kleptocracy. Okay. And I will repeat it 1,000 times. Because if it wasn't a kleptocracy, the money in our public purse will not be finished. Right now, you know what is happening? What annoys me is the arrogance of their incompetence.
Who is arrogant among them? Oh. Because they are in IMF meetings, spring meetings, and they've issued a statement that we had an understanding with you. We we decided to redesign the structure of as far as interests are concerned. So we are reminding you, before we come back, please, as pension fund holders and then also organized labor, try and make a reconsideration of this offer. It's a very simple alternative.
Should I show you the arrogance of their incompetence?
Yes. What's arrogant in this?
Oh, this is not the only thing about this DDP. You had the president himself tell the German ambassador that he should stay out of Ghana's business. Why? Because the German ambassador said the size of government is too big. But Ghana government went to meet the German ambassador, to meet the German chancellor, to beg the German chancellor, to beg the Paris Club, to go and beg China. Look, we are so broke. These guys have messed us up so badly that we cannot even borrow. We are so poor we can't borrow. Previously, they said Mahama was not good. He went to IMF. Mahama went with his homegrown policies, and IMF gave him a program. You are so broke that you are not begging for money. You are begging somebody to go and beg somebody, to beg another person to borrow you money. And when we are talking, you have the arrogance to want to tell us that we shouldn't talk about it. We should be careful how we talk about you and choose the words that we use to describe you. We are being charitable with you. What is civil about taking the pension money of a pensioner that the person is going to use to buy medication? Roland, I was at Top Up Pharmacy in Osu last week to buy medication for my parents. An elderly man, clearly a pensioner, gray head, walked in to buy diabetes medicine, Diabetone. He was given the cost of the medication. Diabetone is a medication you take on a daily basis. He had a prescription. When they gave him the price of the medication, he stood there and then asked them to give him half. What does that mean? It means the man is either going to take one and skip one. He's now going to do 010 formation with medication. This is not the man's fault. Because your finance minister and your vice president, who is head of economic management team, have been wicked and reckless and taking that man's pension. Why do
you call them wicked, reckless?
Because if you are not wicked, you won't prevent children from getting vaccines. The most vulnerable in our society, children.
How did they prevent them?
Because they didn't pay for the vaccines. That's how come we had to go and do Walantu Walasa and beg Ivory Coast, Togo, and Nigeria to give us vaccines before we can vaccinate our children. Now, disabled people, me and him were MPs. When was the last time disability fund was paid?
Asla, is it true?
It's not.
Then
it's not. He's lying.
It's not.
Please, when was the last disability fund paid?
Please,
as MPs.
Your colleagues are lying.
Please.
Look, I'm saying to you that the last common fund that came was second quarter of 2022.
Asla, is it true?
Please, I'll come to it.
Okay.
So
2022, second quarter.
Okay, end it. The way you
understand?
You're angry.
And
relax.
we need to be angry. We're not angry at these people. Look, they are comfortable in the mess that they have created for us. When they finish, they go and eat wache and do KK parties.
But they also
to
have
celebrate
relatives
God.
who have these difficulties.
Who told you? Well, some of their relatives are beginning to speak up, like the Chief Justice, the former Chief Justice. Okay. And then now you have destroyed. As for the young people of this country, you don't even value us. You promised us rent. You didn't pay. You promised us jobs. You didn't give. The children of our country, you've left them at the mercy of measles. Now you are going for our parents as well. You are going for our parents as well with their pensions. And you say that we must be comfortable and look at you and clap for you. They should come and tell us what they have done. Can you imagine that on the day Parliament was rising, 31st, he was sitting in the chamber there. They brought new loans. Loans that they have taken that have brought us to this mess. They went and still brought new loans. So how can you help somebody who is not willing to help themselves? Your overborrowing is what has brought us where we are. Yet you are bringing new loans. They brought new loans in excess of $1 billion on the day we're rising. What kind of people are this?
But we need to service that. Now, Sylvester,
please.
When this release came, the release about why organized labor need to make sure that their fund managers are able to agree to these new proposals, while we have our team at the spring meetings with the Paris Club, IMF, etc., shows that, well, ultimately, we still would have to burn our hands go into the coffers and make sure that even more of these bondholders agree to a certain debt structure. While before we traveled to Washington, we're told that, look, even if you don't like it, don't take it. Because you even said it was voluntary.
But
if it's voluntary,
Roland,
why are we having statements being issued?
Let me
clarify
certain things in context
Okay.
and seek to clarify.
Please do. Please.
And I maintain that this platform should be treated with utmost respect, not only to ourselves, but to the viewing public and to the integrity of this station and many viewers that we don't even know. The essence of what we do here, it is not to for the purposes of extreme populism, but to educate, to inform ourselves, and then to carry the country along. We've had worse economic situations ever when the global economic challenges is not prevailing or prevalent as it is today.
I don't understand. Explain this.
I'm saying that we were coming from a state when we talk of unemployment in this country. The worst had hit this country before. We've had petroleum prices. We've had the general conditions of living quite excruciating on the good people of this country. What is happening, it is not peculiar to this country alone. How many countries are before the IMF today as we speak?
Many.
Many countries. So Ghana, it is not an exception of the global challenges we face today. And even the IMF, you're talking of projections. Before COVID, the IMF had predicted the steady growth of this country. What has happened? They recognize that. So it cannot be true that what is befalling this country and the global economic architecture for that matter it can be attributed solely to mismanagement and incompetence as they want us to believe. This cannot be true.
That no fault of the government.
Please, I'm saying that it cannot be said that what is befalling this country and many other countries seeking an IMF programs, almost at the same time, it is coming on the heels of major global challenges, and that we should understand. In 2014, when we went to the IMF, what was the excuse? The excuse was that commodity prices had fallen. Today, you have entire global economic architecture being altered. And these are the words of the IMF managing director and many other countries. In the UK last week, junior doctors were on strike. And many countries are suffering what we are suffering today. So when there's a program, all that government is saying, that yes, indeed, we have an MOU with you. And we are saying that we are bringing you an alternative that will not affect the maturity date of your bonds.
The proposed maturity date.
Proposed maturity date.
Because this is a proposal on a proposal.
Exactly. It's a proposal on and this is what
you are saying there's nothing wrong with it.
No, but they are saying that. I mean, what I'm saying is that you have a program. I have an alternative arrangement for you as your creditor. So let's sit down and talk about it. Before you even go to the table, you begin.
If you were leading organized labor, would you have accepted this new proposal?
No, but I'm saying that whether to accept it or not, you go and take the offer and discuss it. Because what led to the exclusion is based on the basis of negotiations they've had and meetings they've had with government. Government is not putting gun at their head to say that compulsorily come and sign to the alternative program we've put before you. And that's all that we are saying. So if you take it and you analyze it and you feel that it is not in my best interest to sign on to it, government will not force you. Indeed, that is the baseline for this conversation.
Why is government will not force you? Why is government reinforcing it
is
through a letter?
only making a proposal and inviting you to it. What is wrong with that?
Everything is wrong because you say it's voluntary. So if it's voluntary, you gave me a first proposal over the initial proposal.
What is it? The initial proposal was that people should sign on for a debt exchange program. And then they made the case for exemption.
Yes.
On the basis of that.
So that's a proposal.
And an MOU was reached. And government says, based on what we've agreed on the MOU, I have a further and better alternative program for consider it.
And they didn't take it. And now,
but they've not even come to the table yet to say they are not taking it. It's not even come to the
It's like
table
when you
yet.
read the statement, the first proposal on the current reinforcement based on this letter was made in February. And then while they are in Washington, they are sending this message once again that the proposal of February, please consider it. Yes.
So consideration doesn't mean that it is compulsory on you. So organized labor or bondholders or fund managers should look at it based on what proposal it takes to say that we take it or we leave it. And they should not go into the realms of populism and the kind of politicking.
What do you mean by populism?
Please, let me tell you, today, whether we like it or not, this country, it could be in anybody's hands to manage after 2024 elections. The sufferings of this world and the global economic architecture that has been badly affected by COVID and Russia-Ukraine war, countries has never been the same after these two major global pandemics. So it called for new or paradigm shift. And Ghana is not the only country doing a debt exchange program. It cannot be said that every other country, over 90 countries that are going through debt exchange program, is as a result of reckless borrowing and reckless management of an economy. We are not an exception. They kept making point, a reference to Ivory Coast.
These 90 countries before the IMF
Yes.
are going to the IMF for various types of programs.
And the underlying
Of course, the underlying factor is that they've been badly hit by maybe COVID and Ukraine.
So,
But they are not everybody going for the current program we are going.
no,
among
this is
the
a
90.
debt exchange extended credit facility, right? So what is it?
Which is different from
base-
what we went for in 2014.
That's a policy, a policy, a homegrown policy for them. And now we are going for extended credit facility. But I'm saying that,
So the two are not the same.
I haven't said just say, but I'm saying that the underlying reason for many countries before the IMF today, and IMF itself had said, the world need to mobilize more resources to help ailing economies as a result of two major global pandemics. So you cannot blame everything. Of course, the size of borrowing, we are all worried about it. It hasn't started today. But I've said this on this program before. The national debt accumulation in terms of percentages, NDC in 8 years did over 1,000% of national debt.
Why do we talk percentages when
Why
the
can't
reality?
we talk about percentage?
Okay. It's like, can I go in? What debt did the Kufuor-Addo-led government meet in January 2017?
I'm saying that the NDC administration inherited a 9.2 billion cedis debt. They left us 122 billion. That is well over 1,000% of national debt.
So
accumulation.
1,000.
Today we are doing over 480% debt.
I understand.
So it cannot be the same in terms of percentage. So please, let me make my point.
So 2017, how much was met?
I've told you in terms of percentages of national debt accumulation. And I've made it clear.
Okay, so percentage, what's the real number?
I've said
120.
percentages. I said
You are agreeing
9.2 billion to...
So you are mentioning that 9.2?
Yes, to 122.
Okay,
it's
so
over 1,000%.
yes, so 122.
I said it's over
billion.
1,000%. So you can do that.
I understand.
You can do that.
What's our current debt?
Our current debt is of 500 and...
We're hitting 600
yes,
billion.
so calculate it.
So if I
in
subtract...
terms of percentage.
No.
Why are you doing... I'm talking percentage, you are taking me
because
to
the money is not the same.
What is the money?
Okay,
the size of the economy. The
over
size of
400
the economy.
billion.
The size of the economy.
500
The
billion.
size-
Then you said that is the same percent. Why are you using percentages?
Did I say it's the same? Did I say it's the same?
You said the rate of
People are
accumulation.
watching. Yes, of course.
In percentage
yes,
terms. Because it's conducive for you to do argumenting.
But you too, it's conducive for you to do the nominal numbers. But the size of the economy in 2016 and in 2009 are not the same as of today. They aren't the same. So if you are tracking it and you track by percentage, what is wrong with that? What suits you is what you want to quote. Let's be fair. And nobody is comfortable with the current state of affairs. And I'm saying that there's a reason for it. And don't blame it to say that it is because of ineptitude and mismanagement of this economy and reckless borrowing.
The refrain in the public domain is that the Kufuor-Addo-led government has never admitted that it is also part of the problem, or it is a contributory factor.
Nobody has said so, and nobody can say that.
But you are here saying COVID.
I'm saying you cannot blame my choice of words entirely on the government. These are words that I've chosen carefully. And I'm mindful of whatever I say on this network. Right. When government goes to borrow money to service debt, because when we came into government, he talked about the Templeton debt. It was to service a maturing debt we inherited. It became part of our national debt. When we did a drawdown on the Pokwase interchange, it became part of our national debt. Even though they started negotiation for that loan for the Pokwase interchange, the drawdown came in 2018. It is part of our national debt today.
It was approved in Parliament.
It was approved, but the drawdown.
November
but
2016.
The drawdown, yes, the drawdown is in 2018, right? For the Pokwase interchange and all that. So for me, governance is continuous. Government has an option to say, like the parable of the talent.
So now
to say
the bulk of the debt, 400 billion, NDC
what?
The bulk of the over 400 to 500 billion, the bulk was accumulated by the outgone NDC. Is that what you're saying?
What kind of statement are you making? Who said so? Okay. Did I say so?
I'm asking.
Why are you asking that question? What kind of question is that?
You don't like the question.
But if you are telling me, because the statement I'm making has nothing to do who has accumulated the current debt you are.
Because
I'm saying that the current debt stock is inclusive of debt from even President Kufuor's time.
And I'm saying...
So I didn't say that the NDC, who has ever said so, that the current debt stock is so accumulated by the NDC? So asking that question is unfortunate, because I haven't said so. No. So why would you put words in my mouth that the current debt...
Put words.
No, but the question...
You don't like the question.
I don't even know what you seek to achieve with that question. But the point I'm making is that national development... Look, in an unlikely event that NDC wins power again in this country, you think they will come without borrowing, they will come without restructuring our debt to be able to have fiscal space to develop this country? They will certainly do so. Just as they did in previous times. When they came, the debt they inherited, 9.2 billion, they borrowed money to service some of the maturing debt at the time to get fiscal space to be able to develop and move on. Right? So for me, if you sit here and we haven't been able to aggressively pursue a local economic structure that will support export and then reduce import dependency of this country and exchange rate.
Are you sure we have done this?
I said, if we have not, successive government have not been able to do that aggressively, to be able to reduce over reliance on importation of almost everything, that leads to the depreciation of our local currency to the extent that...
But that was what we were told in 2016, Sylvester, that would do what you are saying, from taxation to production.
Go and check successive government, the promises they've made. That is why I said successive government has not aggressively pursued this program. The current national debt stock...
So you agree that the current government too has not? You agree that the current government has not pursued that,
Roland,
right?
why are you...
No.
When I said successive government, so you are asking me, you have agreed that the current government, what kind of...
Because the successive doesn't include the current one. That's what I'm asking. So
successive government doesn't include the current one.
No, successive.
Roland.
Yes, please.
You're making the discussion quite
difficult for you. No, because the point you are making, you are saying that...
You are unnecessarily interjecting me, and then you are trying to put words in my mouth.
After you interjected
please,
now
please.
the host, you say he's unnecessary.
No.
His interjections are... Look, me, when I sit on TV and I'm discussing national issues, it doesn't matter my political leanings, because the truth must always be told. And I keep making the point that successive governments has not aggressively pursued our industrialization agenda to reduce the over-dependence on importation. I was making the point that the current national debt, over 40% of our national debt currently, is as a result of exchange rate differentials.
True.
That's a serious matter that calls for a paradigm shift and serious aggression towards how to manage. These are things within all of us are remit to be able to manage. Okay? To be able to manage. It calls on us. What we eat, what we wear, what we drink, we should make conscious effort. Because if your current national debt over 600 million, 40% is as a result of exchange rate differentials, then this country is in serious crisis. And successive government, as I said, including the NDC, have not and have never been able to manage our exchange rate. And the debt they left, quite a chunk of it has also been part of this same problem we are talking about today. And as we speak today, they are seeking to get political power. They still don't have any program, as it were, except to court the emotions of Ghanaians to vote for them. What exactly are they coming to do to rewrite these wrongs that we are talking about?
Okay, so
today?
Sly.
So please.
So the question I asked was, So the question I asked was, the successive government inefficiencies that you mentioned, the proposed efficiencies or policy proposals were given to us
yes, I'll come to that.
In the election period of 2016.
Yes. Right.
And over the last 7 years, would you say that we have realized? And that's the question.
We came into office with a program, first of all.
Because if we had implemented, we won't go to IMF.
No, we started the implementation of our industrialization drive for this country. Okay? You don't start industrialization and get the benefit overnight. It takes time.
7 years?
Of course. But the last 3 years has been where we had gone under these global challenges that we are talking about. So you think we have done nothing in the area of industrialization? It doesn't take, it takes time.
It takes time.
It takes time. No country has industrialized in the space of the 7 years or 8 years we are talking about. But you set the proper structures down and develop it and build upon it. And that's what we sought to do, and we indeed started it. You look at your manpower, capacity building, human resource skills training. That is why we've aggressively pursued free SHS to be able to train the manpower of this country for the future. And then TVET, technical and vocational skills. Go and check the NDC. In the run-up to 2016 election, they talked about it, that the human capacity of this country in terms of skills training should be enhanced. So government today, vocational and technical education is free, where TVET is playing a key role. So when you are talking of industrialization, you need the human resource at the same time. Okay. So clearly, yes, you can do your politicking with it and all that, but the reality on the ground, we should see a master program that you say, this is going to take us out of all this. If NDC had never been in power, perhaps you sit back and appreciate their concerns, but they have had power more than any other political party in this country.
And if you compare the NDC to the MPP period, which one would you say?
Of course, no Ghanaian on the street, in the face of all the challenges we face today, would think within the split seconds that the NDC come close to the MPP in terms of developing this country. Never. Okay. Nobody will make that mistake. But indeed, we are saddled with that. Like, I was part of the people who have called for the head of Kenoforiata in this country. It doesn't mean that I'm an MPP. So anything MPP, we swallow it hook, line, and sinker. I don't do my politics like that.
You call for his head, but at the same time, you support the way he has managed the economy.
Government program, as it were, that they are inviting you to discuss it. I will not be here to dismiss it on the basis of the fact that you have a challenge with
as we're having this conversation,